November the 19th, 2018. Guys, you're looking at the cracked surface of my cell phone. Now, you say, well, why in the world are you showing us this? Notice it says that my notifications are hidden, hide all notifications. Well, until just after, I think it was in October, around October 1st or so, that Trump did the emergency alert system check. Remember that? Well, after that, there were some updates sent out. I know it was to Android. I'm not sure about your Apple phones or anything like that, but you may want to check them because we may have some clowns acting up in the cell phone industry. And what it did was that update, guys, made it to where it turned off your notifications. And you have to go back in and turn them on. And I did. I just clicked on the show all notifications. And I'll check it again later. But notice this was at 5:43 p.m. this afternoon. Now, why is that important? Because we're about to see possibly over 60,000 sealed indictments opened and delivered, an arrest made by the military. Remember on December 21st, 2017, Trump came out with this executive order. I did one or two videos on it on that date, but it says executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. Now, this human rights is human trafficking, child trafficking, and sex trafficking, okay? Corruption. That's everything from election fraud to selling out the nation, selling uranium to Russia, all of the different, just about everything you've seen in D.C. for the last 100 years can fall under this corruption clause. Now, there was amendments made to that, and they go into effect January 1st. Just before the inauguration of the new House and Senate, the new governors. Let's look at that. Now, I apologize for the clarity of this particular page. It's the best that I could find. But this is one of the add-ons to that. And it says only one sentencing system applies in a court-martial. Why was this put in here? Just pay attention. The accused at a single court-martial with specific specifications alleging offenses committed before January 1st, 2019, and on or after January 2019 will not be sentenced under separate rules. Now, there's new rules coming in January 1st, but if you were doing any of these criminal enterprises before that, it's still going to apply to you, but you won't be tried under both the old and new laws, whichever one applies. Accordingly, if an accused is facing court-martial for several specifications alleging offenses, at least one of which was committed before January 1st, 2019, and at least one of which was committed on or after 2019, the convening authority may refer these offenses to either side. In other words, you're still doing it, then you're going to probably get the harsher sentence. Now, why January the 1st, guys? What just happened? The midterm elections. Why would Trump sign this in December 21st, 2017, and now it's about to come into play more than likely? And guys, I want you to think about this. Trump has been in a battle with mainstream media, and we know that. Silicon Valley, the social media. He's been in a battle, and that was the whole purpose of the emergency alert system on your cell phone. So they come in an attempt to stop this announcement when martial law is declared, when the military goes into the street with over 60,000 sealed indictments, maybe way more than that, but at least 60,000. There's going to be rioting. There's going to be protest. There's going to be a lot of conflict. But what if you didn't get the alerts? What if you didn't know what was going on? And that's what they were doing, guys. And that's why you need to check your phones. Again, I don't know about the Apple phones. Check your Androids. Go in there, type in how to check for your emergency notifications. Go into notifications. Find out how and see if your alerts are on. Because when he announces this, they don't want you to know it. That's pretty low down, but guys, if you understand these illegal activities that are being talked about, they mention the federal communications. They mention mainstream media. They mention broadcast. They mention the phone companies. It says, if the convening authority has referred specifications alleging offenses committed before January 1st, 2019 and on or after January 2019 to a single court-martial pursuant to paragraph A1 before the accused is arraigned, the military judge shall ascertain as applicable whether the accused elects to be sentenced under the sentencing rules in effect on January 29th or apply to the offenses regardless of the date of the alleged offense. They're going to let them know. Now, guys, this is very important. Now, all of this picture's not in there. I apologize for that, but the executive order is 13825, and this is an amendment, March 1st, 2018. It's 465 pages, but it talks about the United States allowing persons committing illegal sex acts or corruption to be tried by Uniform Code of Military Justice. This document establishes the government's right to prosecute crimes of sex trafficking and corruption against Americans in military tribunals under existing U.S. law. Guys, that's why you're seeing the updates to not only Gitmo, but the other offshore federal detention centers. This are military detention centers. This would allow corrupt individuals and groups to be arrested by the military and tried in military trials, bypassing the corrupt public court system filed with court justices. Now, you remember the video that I just did about Haiti and the U.S. military taking over the airport there? And I mentioned it's one of the centers, or was one of the centers, of child sex trafficking. Now, let's go back to an executive order that was signed by Obama, and just like the other things that they were doing, setting up FEMA detention camps, the coffins, the guillotines, closing of the Walmarts, guys, they set traps for themselves. That's how it works. It says the executive order signed by Obama grants the president absolute control over all U.S. media, CNN, including internet tech giants, social media news networks, news websites, and it specifically names communications that support continuity of government, federal, state, local, territorial, and tribal emergency preparedness and response communications, non-military executive branch communication systems, critical infrastructure, protection networks, and non-military communication networks, particularly with respect to prioritization and restoration. This has to do with censoring. It has to do with what we're talking about with your cell phones being cut off so you don't get the EAS alert. Why is this new EAS alert coming so important? Because the nation will be served, as I was reading today, by that EAS notice. These people won't have to be tried in public with corrupt judges. This is going to be in a military court, handled that way. There won't be any bond, won't be any bail. There'll just be jail and hell for some of these people because of what they've done. If you go back to December 21st in the original video, when we were talking about this in 2017, we were talking about this executive order. Remember, it said, I therefore determine that serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy, and economy of the U.S., and I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. Then it starts talking about all property and interests that are in the U.S. They're hereafter come within the United States. You've read it. You've seen the videos. But, guys, he waited till after the midterms. Why? Because we're seeing that Florida tried to steal the elections. Arizona stole the elections. Today, news is coming out that 300,000 more people voted in Orange County, California, than were supposed to in the governor's race. It turned all blue suddenly. It's amazing, but the corruption has been exposed through this midterms. He could have done this back in December 21st, and we don't know that some of these people have, well, as a matter of fact, a lot of executives have stepped down. A lot of foreign agents have been silenced. The clowns are out of North Korea, possibly out of Saudi Arabia to a certain extent, and possibly other places around the world. But after this past election, he let them expose themselves. That's why. And guys, don't forget to check your cell phone. See if your notification is on, because that's part of the hidden agenda of the deep state controlling mass media. Also, you remember it said the United States seeks to impose tangible and significant consequences on those who commit serious human rights abuse or engage in corruption. This is in the December 21st, 2017 first executive order, as well as to protect the financial system of the U.S. from abuse by these same people. Today, or it was today, Deutsche Bank, like $150 billion scam that they're involved in. It says the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security, who's about to leave, Secretary of Homeland Security, will issue non-binding guidance regarding factors that commanders, convening authorities, staff judge advocates, and judge advocates should take into account when exercising their duties with respect to the disposition of charges and specifications in the interest of justice and discipline under Articles 30 and 34 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. There's FBI personnel are involved. DOJ, CIA, state personnel, White House personnel, Senate personnel, House of Representatives personnel. They are all local politicians, local representatives. Think election managers. By the way, the lady in Broward County resigned today. Think about that. She knows she's guilty. Getting out, she had until her job was guaranteed for another, I think until 2020. Miss Snipes. But guys, going back to the beginning of the video, check your notifications. Each phone's going to be different. It took me a minute to find mine, but go into your settings and look for the notifications and what's locked and unlocked. But mine was not set like this until the updates after the first presidential EAS test, and only 25% of the U.S. got that. They don't want anyone to see it. Check your phones, guys. We'll update this. It's a heads up. Be safe.